Minister, the defective concrete block issue is causing huge amount of concern for those who are affected. The process is long, complicated and stressful. Those who have been approved, which have appealed that decision, also find themselves in no man's land, with no information as how their appeal is being dealt with. In January, I submitted a PQ asking for the number of appeals made to date under the defective concrete block scheme, the number of appeals that have been heard by county by year, and the current timeline for determination of appeals lodged. All of these would appear to be reasonable ask of a body tasked to do this work. Nobody asked for personal details, just a breakdown of the work of the panel on a regular basis. The reply I received was not good, which is why we're here today. While I fully agree the appeals panel should be independent of you, Minister, the Department and of the Housing Agency, that doesn't mean you should not ask for and receive regular updates onto the work being delivered. And when elected members such as myself ask for that information, I should get it without any delay. The fact that I don't raise questions. There are up to 180 appeals up to the end of 2025, I believe, which are a number of them in my own county of Clare. Some of them have no idea as to when they will get a decision, which is disappointing. I have one family onto me lately who's ready to start but can do nothing until their appeal is heard. They surely have the right to know when that will happen so they can make plans going forward. It is in the interest of the people who have appeals in the system to have them dealt with as fast as possible. It is not too much to ask that they may have some guideline as to how long the appeal will take. It is also in the public interest to know that a body doing work on behalf of the state is held accountable for it. We cannot manage what we do not measure. If there is no obligation for the panel to provide such regular updates, then there is little hope this work will be delivered in a timely manner. I'm not asking for a state secret here. I would just like to have the work of the panel, the number of appeals submitted, numbers decided, and length of time of such decisions, which is very important, published on a monthly or quarterly basis, which those affected householders, I think, deserve. Thank you, Minister.
Just want to, at the outset again, thank Deputy Cooney for representing people of his constituency, the people of Clare, who obviously have been impacted by this issue. First of all, I appreciate the issue of defective concrete blocks is a particularly emotive one for households, and I sympathise with all who are caught up in this very distressing situation. The establishment of the Appeals Board was an important step in offering those affected by decisions made by the Housing Agency and local authorities an opportunity to have their cases assessed by an independent group of industry experts. The chair of the panel, along with the rest of the panel members, have undertaken to examine each case thoroughly. It should be noted that the Appeals Panel is statutorily independent in the performance of their functions from my senior minister, Minister Brown, the Department of Housing and the Housing Agency. The Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage provides administrative support during the initial stages of the process in that appeals submitted by homeowners are forwarded to the panel. Recently, in recognition of the challenges facing the panel, the Department provided additional funding for the engagement of a direct staffing resource to work directly with the Appeals Panel Chair. I understand that this is now beginning to pay dividends, as evidenced by the recent issue of determinations by the panel. The powers granted to the Appeals Panel are outlined in legislation as per Section 39(10) of the Act. The Appeals Panel may either affirm the decision that is subject to the appeal or annul the decision. In the case of an annulment, if the Appeal Board considers that the Housing Agency has made a serious error of law or fact which amounts to a serious or significant error, then they can direct the housing agency to reconsider its decision in accordance with such directions as the appeal board may consider appropriate, or replace the decision with such other decisions as it considers it appropriate to make in accordance with this Act. Like any appeals process, there is a continuing focus on the further rollout of determinations. Importantly, in line with statutory commitments, the panel operate within the legislation. The Chair and his panel must be allowed to continue their work. There is no role under statute for Minister Brown, or indeed myself as Minister of State, in this regard. It is our hope that continued engagement with appellants will take place with a view to properly assessing appeals, so those who still suffer the awful weight of their experiences can be satisfied. We are aware of the urgency of this work, and I recognise the vulnerability of a particular group of homeowners. It is an absolute priority for the Department. It is my understanding that in recent weeks a number of determinations have been issued to homeowners, and I expect this process will continue to accelerate as the appeals panel continues in its work. So, Deputy Cooney, I think that the main point there is we have to, at all points, respect the independence of the appeals board, and it cannot be under any influence in any way, shape or form from the senior minister or the department. But I take your point. You're seeking pretty what I would describe as important and basic information in terms of the specifics that you've asked for. What I will go back from this discussion, Deputy Cooney, is find out if we can get access to any of that information, so long as it doesn't influence unduly any of the decisions. I don't see why we can't make that request and get some of the specific answers that you're looking for in your opening statement there. Thank you.
Dr. Cooney, two minutes.
Thank you, Gael, and thank you, Minister. I do agree with you. We must respect the Independent Appeal Board, which is important those people out there get the information, at least get updates on the information as what's happening in the Appeals Board. I'm aware of householders almost 12 months and have heard nothing whatsoever back. The appeal has gone in. They were notified that the appeal had been received, but no further information whatsoever. I don't think that's good enough, Minister, to be honest with you. These people are under enough stress at the moment without having the stress with the cost of inflation, cost increasing of building materials, and it's putting extra pressure on them. And they're very concerned when they get their appeal result that then they have to go and get a contractor. A lot of work to be done going forward, and they're concerned about the costs and will they be able to afford to rebuild or redevelop their house, whatever the case may be. There is also a serious concern out there, Minister, as regards the technical review that's going on at the moment. When will that be published? My belief is that could be holding up these appeals as well. So it's important to maybe, if you could give us an update on when that technical review will be published, the outcome of it. And also the concern as regards the social housing schemes out there. There's a number of people living in those houses which unfortunately are badly affected as well. So is there an update as regards the scheme to carry out works at those houses going forward? We have a serious issue here in our hands. Unfortunately, it's in the time of a housing crisis. It's putting a lot of pressure on families, and I think now it's time for more action and to try and get these families confident going forward. Thank you, Minister.
Look, and Deputy Cooney, look, it's my understanding that the appeals panel is very much aware of the understandable desire of applicants to have their cases dealt with in an expeditious manner as possible. The time taken to assess appeals has been in many cases longer than originally envisaged. We have to accept that. However, I understand that some of the time taken to consider and issue decisions has been taken up by requests for further information, either from appellants themselves or from other stakeholders. The panel have taken this approach, I am informed, in order to allow appellants to have full facts of their situation properly assessed. Corollary of this inclusive and holistic approach is that this has unfortunately added time onto the overall process. The programme for government commits to undertaking the planned review of the DCB scheme, and this refers to the fact that the legislation mandates the Minister to review the scheme within 3 years of the Act's commencement, and the appeals process will form part of this review. And you've asked for a specific time of when that will be published, and I will get you that information, Deputy Cooney, as to when it will be published. And I think a key here is as I said, we have to keep that independence, but it's the time, I think, Deputy Cooney, is the major issue, and the access to information that you're addressing here. And if it's a case that we need to resource the board further, we've already given them extra resources in terms of getting appeals decisions out in a more timely manner. There's obviously a request for further information, but sometimes can take a bit of time in terms of the back and forth. I'm sure that the people you're representing are so anxious to get their decisions made that they will get information to the appeals board as quickly as possible. I don't think there's an issue there. So if it's required, they need more resources, then we'll look at that. But in terms of your specific question about the technical review, I will come back to you with a specific time on that. I assure you, and there'll be officials listening to this response, that they'll issue you with information on when that might be expected. Thank you.